guest today. He was one of our cronies and Stony. Amazing guy. Great singer. Big heart. His name's Angel Colon. Welcome.
Don't move.
Don't move.
Don't move. All right.
What's up, people? My name's Angel. I currently live in Florida, born and raised in the Bronx. Professionally, I'm a nurse case manager for a managed care company. And today was my last day in the HIV product of the company. So on Monday, I start for same company, just a different department, a bit of a promotion, so that's exciting. And it's with the it's inclusive care case management, and it will be my main focus will be working with the LGBTQIA plus community, helping them to establish connecting to care and help with any type of transition surgeries pending, as well as finding providers that will provide inclusive care.
This is virtual or in person?
It's still virtual, yeah, which is perfect because I have a daughter that's starting tech school and she'll need a car. So the timing couldn't be better. Everything aligned beautifully.
What, no break? No break in between?
Well, my break was before when I took a cruise with the family about 2 weeks ago. I am a father of two, daughter 19, son 14. Man, there's so many different layers to me. So like, where do I begin, right? As far as my personality, I'm always, I am whatever my surrounding gives off. So I won't be bubbly in a surrounding that's kind of like reserved. Just I kind of like go with the flow. Obviously, I do not like being in environments that just don't feel right for my spirit. I can always just like I'm empathic, so I can feel the energy of the room. I can tell when things are just not right, and I used to force myself to stay and deal with it, and I don't do that anymore. Now I'm like, I need to remove myself from this. I can't. You'll see it on me, and why would you want to experience that? From me if it's not doesn't vibe with me. So I will remove myself from environments that don't feel right for me. As far as my heart, also many layers of that. For me, I'm a very loving person, but with that is like I carry this huge weight because I am the kind of person who has a 10-gallon kind of love. So like I'm always like smothering my kids and, I used to actually. I don't do that anymore. There was some growth in that. And, I realized that was my need, not theirs. And I had to learn really quickly that if I didn't bring it back and pay attention to the cues that told me, they don't like that, then I would be setting them up to fail in relationships. And that's important to me. I don't want them to, feel like they have to just accept whatever comes their way. They have the right to put up boundaries, to have them respected, and what better place than at home to have that started, to lay that foundation.
So how do you relate to your culture growing up?
Oh, so this is interesting because as a child, I spoke mostly Spanish, Puerto Rican household. I identify as New Rican because I was born in Puerto Rico.
We are our own culture, I told you. Right?
Yeah, so like I spoke like they did, but I grew up in the Bronx and it's just not the same. It's a different kind of Puerto Rican in the Bronx. It just is. Maybe in the other boroughs as well. I'm going to put that out there too, I'm sure. But it was just different. And I learned when I was about 14 years old. I've only been to Puerto Rico once in my whole life. Till this day.
Really? Wow.
Till this day, I've only been once.
Wait,
and I was
wait. You've only been to Puerto Rico once in your lifetime?
Once in my...
Still? You mean I'm not, but I've been there way more than you.
Yeah, most people have gone way
I have a
more
husband,
than me.
Puerto Rican. That's okay.
Yeah, no, for real. And the one time I went, I was so offended because I was referred to as gringo.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what? Who are you talking to?
what is it about me that says gringo to you? But no, it really just, I don't know. Like, I guess even though I thought I spoke as they did, I don't. There's something different about when I speak Spanish that they can immediately pick up that I'm not from the island, that I'm not an island native born and raised. So they caught it right away and they just labeled me as gringo and it pissed me off. And so for many, many years, I'm talking about like into even my 20s, I was like, not that I didn't want to be Puerto Rican or identify as Puerto Rican, but I didn't love it. Mm-hmm. I didn't love the idea of going back. Like I wasn't in a rush to go back. I was like, F you. You can't accept me. I'm Puerto Rican. So I had that for a long time. And what I did actually was, starting in middle school, I started taking Spanish classes to do away with the Puerto Rican accent. Mm-hmm. That fucked me up badly because every teacher was not from the same country teaching Spanish. I had a teacher from Spain, I had a teacher from Bolivia, I had a teacher from Colombia, I had a teacher from Argentina. I'm like, so my accent, even till this day, it varies back and forth. It's going a little more into like, Puerto Rican accent, but like it will vary. Like people sometimes ask me, "Where are you from?" Like I understand what you're saying, but like it's your accent is like not giving a specific place. I'm like, yeah, and I explained to them why. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I literally did that just so that I can do away with that accent because I was so angry. But I messed myself up in the process. So yeah, no, and now it's I'm trying to remember when it was that you know what it was? It was actually during, it was like after Stony Brook. I just started to like the music. The music was always there. I've always loved the music. I've always loved the culture. Especially the spirituality aspect of it, and just the love. Just like there's a certain love for each other. It's right away. It's either hit or miss. And one thing that like I noticed is like with the people from the island is the moment you get in good with them, they start relating to you as Papa. Like Papa this and Papa that. Yo, Papa, how you doing? What's up? Mm-hmm. Like that's like a term of endearment, And it's like, it touched me, I was like, this is, I started just to get more into the culture more. The food was always there. That's me growing up. That's just forever. That never went away. The music was always there. It was just a matter of me, just kind of coming to terms that maybe just being called gringo isn't really what I took it to mean. Like they weren't trying to like be mean or rude. Maybe it was just that I'm not born and raised there. Mm-hmm. So that's just how they refer to people that are, born off outside of the island. So
I think that's what it is. I think that that's just really a term that they picked up on, that they said, whereas we have that in our heart, but we're from New York. And then I think thinking that, but a gringa is considered in my eyes a Caucasian woman or person, right? And so it's just really a matter of or they would say, tú eres de allá afuera. Remember? Do you remember that?
Mm. Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Like you're from
outside so I took it like that's
what the heck, my garbage? What are you saying?
Yeah. And I've also known several New Yorkers that have only been to PR like once or twice. Like me and Sam went every summer, but others. But I mean, the point is that the culture is still very rich and kind of, we are responsible for a lot of things that Puerto Rico is not responsible for, including salsa. So people don't know what New Yorkers have done, what New Yorkers have contributed politically, historically, musically, even hip hop. We've done a lot. So, I mean, people sleep on New Yorkers, but it is its own culture.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
I remember going to Argentina when I was in 5th grade. That was the first time I went. I didn't go back either that often because it's expensive as fuck and like a 15-hour plane ride. But I remember like going to my cousins, like whatever, little sports, and there was a bunch of their little friends and whatever from their school. And I remember one of the girls that was their friends, they were driving away in the bus, and she yells out, "Ciao, junkie!" And I'm like, what the fuck? Junkie? I'm not a fucking junkie. What is she talking about? But she was saying Yankee. She's calling me Yankee. Because, I'm from, I'm like, junkie? Junkie? What do you mean junkie? So, yeah, it kind of is like they would refer to me as Yankee, a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, just, put the nail into the, you don't want me either.
Oh my God.
Fucking junkie.
Yeah, it sounds like junkie.
Saying shanky. Ciao, shanky.
I love that about your accent, the Argentinian accent. I love the double L's sounding like SHs. Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, but you know what? I only really sound like it when I'm with my family, obviously. But when I speak, sometimes I lose the I say "sha," but I lose a lot of it because my husband, Victor's Puerto Rican. I'm not around many Argentinians, so unless I'm like talking to my mother or something, I won't always sound real, Argentinian. But
so when you took those classes, that you took. It's Spanish classes. Were they taught by an Argentinian or?
Yes. Not every child was from Argentina. Most were, but they were different. They were from the 5 boroughs of Long Island. But you were taught Educación Cívica de Argentina, La Historia de Argentina, Castellano. So we did a lot of the vosotros, learning all the verb tenses. So we did all of that as if I was going to a school in Argentina. My mother was a teacher there too, but
that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah. She dragged me.
Your brothers too, or just you?
Marcelo, he ended up getting Crohn's disease, so he got a ticket out of it. Not a great ticket, but he didn't have to go. I don't know if Gus went, but I don't ever remember my brothers being there. It was just me and my mother, just us.
I want to ask, so what has been your journey, Angel? Because I know we've talked about like spiritual growth and, just that evolution at this stage in life. Like, how do you feel like you've changed in like maybe like the last 10 years or 5 years?
Spiritually or?
Yeah, spiritually.
So yeah, there's a lot of layers to that. And I have to say, I want to start by thanking you, Samantha, and you, Melissa, because if it wasn't for what you guys were sharing on social media, I don't know if I would have started a self-healing, self-forgiveness journey. I say that because with you, Samantha, there was a time when you were sharing meditation and things like that. Like you were actually meditating. It wasn't when you were teaching it, but when you were meditating, you're kind of starting that. And I remember you'd go visit your mom out here, and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and meditate," and you'd like share that and share a picture. I'm like, "Wow, that's beautiful." I was like, "That she's doing that." I was like, in my mind, I'm wondering, what are you getting out of that? Like, I didn't know that part yet. Melissa, you taught me by way of social media and your talks, indirectly, you taught me that there's such a thing as inner child healing. I never heard of that. I didn't know what that was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was like, these things are making like awakening a curiosity in me. So I decided during that time, I was like, I'm gonna just, have conversations. I'm going to, with you, Mel, I attended some of your talks, and I started realizing what this was. Like, it opened up a whole new world, and it made me dive into myself. I said, okay, so obviously I know I have a lot of issues. I just don't know what they are. Where do I start? So I just started to and then this was myself. I didn't meditate or anything. I was just kind of like, whenever I would react a certain way, I would try to figure out where that come from. That's the kind of questions I was asking myself because of the things that you guys were sharing. Like, okay, I need to ask myself questions, and sit with myself. That Samantha, that was a big thing that you'd say. You sit with yourself, and just be in your feelings and explore them. So just all of that, just in the years that have passed since that time, I feel that I didn't understand what it was to say goodbye to your old self. Remember, you tried to explain, and I was like, I don't get it, and I get it now. But I wasn't ready to get it back then, and I didn't realize that, and that's why I wasn't understanding it. I'm like, what do you mean? How's that even? Probably get it? I don't know. So I left it alone, and then it wasn't until, when I got to the maximum potential of what I can do for myself, at that point, I was like, okay, no, there's no more. This is where I'm going to start counseling. So that's when I started looking for therapists that specified in inner child healing. Back to the Mel thing, I'm like, okay, because that's the one I need to heal, because I know it's coming from this child, because he had a lot of trauma growing up. Mm-hmm. So did counseling, and it was amazing. We hit it off. I went in knowing that there's a possibility we may not be a match. And so I had an open mind, an open heart. I said, it's going to be what it's going to be. I said, but I won't know until I try. Did counseling. He was amazing at having me ask certain questions that I never would have thought to ask myself. And just, it was beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, I recommend this for everybody. It was beautiful. However, visiting the dark places was a part of that. And that was not so beautiful. Mm-hmm. That, because of the fact that I already have a 10-gallon heart, when I was in those places and I was crying, I felt like I wasn't going to come out of that cry, because it was like, oh my God, I was desperate. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. I'm like, is this going to stop? Like, I was in so many emotions. There was just panic. There was hurt. There was love. And I did a thing there was a gift of an adult holding their inner child and loving on them. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is hurtful and painful, but I need to go back and let that inner child know that I am going to protect them. And then now going back to you, Sam, the looking in the mirror thing and talking to yourself in the mirror and empowering yourself, game changer. I'm telling you, these things are amazing. So yeah, I'm my journey of self-forgiveness, of healing, it's going to be a forever thing for me. I understand that, but there's definitely growth in that. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, and I own that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's definitely an unfolding process.
And I think saying that you're not the same person, I think in some ways it's at least, maybe not every 2 years, but every at least decade, you should be evolving, in my opinion, at least for me. You feel like you're not who you are at 30 or 40 and then 50 and 20. I mean, you should evolve, or at least should. I don't want to say that word, but that is really part of life. Exploring different versions of you, because different things happen and affect you differently. Wisdom and all the other things that happen the older you get. So I think we should. I mean, we're supposed to.
Yes.
Which
Yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
it's kind of like forced anyway because of your life, the things you experience through life. I
Yeah, but
guess
some
not
people stay
everyone.
stuck.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I was gonna say.
it happens. That everybody's different.
I was stuck for a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
I learned through speaking with my wife, who's a social worker. I learned through her that there's a thing called having a stunted brain. And, Melly, you might be able to
Mhm.
describe that better. For me, it's
Trauma.
basically
Yeah.
don't involve. You're not your age. You're not like your physical age mentally. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize. It wasn't until I learned about that I realized, oh, this is why when I turned a certain age, any milestone age I turned, I was like, what is it like to be this age? Where am I supposed to be at? Like living in the past, like constantly, like, holding on to that shit, like like there was no tomorrow. I was like, I didn't want to let go of the past. I was comfortable in the past, even though there was hurt in the past.
Mm.
So yeah.
And that hurt is familiar. It's not, it's just because it's familiar. That's why it's comfortable. Not that it's not painful.
But the unknown is sometimes scarier than
Yeah.
Yeah.
the dysfunctional comfort, quote unquote.
Oh my god,
Right?
yes.
That's a barrier.
And that's a lot of marriages out there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since losing Jose, I see how, there are a lot of marriages. I don't know why it's not like I didn't see certain things, but like I see a lot more people that are stagnant or shared being stagnant or unhappy. And I'm like, but a lot of us have been married a long time, we have to, it's different. It's not it's not a quick fix, like you have to work at it. And same thing with inner healing. Like they don't call it doing your work for nothing. I mean, that's when you went into the dark shadows, like that's not easy. That's hard. And I think, from my perspective, sometimes people are so scared to get stuck in that pain that they're afraid to even go there. And I think that's what hinders some people from doing it. But meanwhile, when they get through it, they're like, oh my God, I'm not dead. I can handle it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you die? No.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Metaphysically, maybe, but not in reality.
Where from? Did you die?
I don't know. Movie.
Yeah.
That's from a movie.
What movie was that?
Oh my God.
I forgot. That was a good one. But did you die?
Yeah.
But did
That
you
is
die?
from a
Asian
movie.
guy.
That is from a movie. Which one?
Yeah.
It's the Asian guy. It's like one of those bachelor movies or something. I don't remember the name of it.
It wasn't The Hangover, right? No.
Yeah, probably.
Oh,
Was it?
Now
Yeah,
you might have rang about this. I wasn't remembering at all until you said that.
Right.
The little mushroom dick guy. What was his name? Remember when it's
The
like,
Asian.
what is this? It was his little dick.
So, what is your Tell us a memory of Stony Brook, because we all went to Stony Brook together, and
Mm-hmm.
those were like the most fondest years of my life.
Tell you
I
what,
don't even remember how I met you. I mean, I know I met you through John, but I don't remember like when we met. I don't remember.
So I remember that, and then I didn't realize that you were the person I had met that time in Stony Brook. And so I was hanging out with Johnny, and we went to Miss Sully's house. I don't remember what we were hanging out. We went to Miss Sully's house, and then from there, I think you showed up after. But you were so quiet. That's why it was hard to remember that, to have that memory. But you were really quiet, because then we were sitting in the back seat as Johnny was driving. I think Miss Sully's might have been in the front seat. No, mentira. And it was myself, Miss Sully's, and you. And at that point, you were so quiet. You were like kind of back, and so I kind of just saw like glimpses of like your face. I was too afraid to like make direct contact because we just met. So I was singing.
You were singing?
I was singing. Don't ask me what song I was singing, because Johnny always used to have to like
Yeah.
perform for everybody. He's like, he sings, sing. He'd
Yeah.
play a song, and I'm like, oh my god. I was like his freaking road show on the road.
I would have loved to have seen that one.
It was probably freestyle. Who knows? That or Boyz II Men. It was always either one.
Yeah.
And then that was that moment. I don't remember the rest of that time. That was that moment. And then,
I don't remember that at all. But go ahead.
yeah, but that was the summer before Stony Brook started. And then Stony Brook hit, and I don't know whose room we were in, but I know you were sitting on the bed. I came in with my I call it my Barney outfit, because I used to love wearing purple back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, purple, like, dude, I had like a purple and white striped hoodie, purple sunglasses, these purple hip hop jeans crap. I don't even know. I was like, wow, I was a walking freaking grape. I mean, why didn't anybody tell me? You remember? See? My God. So then I said hello to everybody, and you were sitting there. You had the most serious face, and I was like,
RBF.
Yep. Resting bitch face, always.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you. I don't talk to you.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so you were sitting there, you just wearing the Samantha face.
Oh my God.
I obviously didn't know any better about, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna not bother her too much. My insecurities, obviously, right? So, but I said hi to everybody. You said hi. You kind of smirked, and then that was it. And then we went on the walk where I was showing you guys where your classes would be. It was me, you, and Melly and Johnny.
Okay. And did you live in Hand? I know I lived in Hand. Did you live in Hand or the next one over?
I lived in Roosevelt Quad. Yeah.
Where
in
was that?
Wagner College.
What was
right next to-
Roosevelt?
It was like between Hand and Kelly.
Was it the new ones? The
No,
new
that's
ones?
Roth. No, that was
That
Roth.
was Roth. Yeah. I was one
I
of the
lived in
old-
Kelly.
Oh, okay. So I lived I guess the building next to it, which was
I don't remember
Roosevelt
Roosevelt.
Quad.
Weird.
Yeah.
Just remember that everybody was on the other side and that
Yep.
we would walk together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a walk then.
Yes.
Damn it. I was like, damn it.
And I didn't know that I didn't know that you and Sam knew each other from before Stony Brook. I didn't know that.
Well, we didn't know each other. We
mean,
went to
that-
this thing. Yeah,
We had met that summer,
right.
but we weren't in the same group. It was just that, like, it was a nice program, and they actually gave you like a book with everybody's picture, and me too.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So you see everybody's picture, and each group had a counselor.
Mhm.
And actually, I think my counselor from that went to Stony Brook too, because I remember playing basketball with him and hanging out with him.
Was it?
Yep. His name was Angel too.
Yeah. He had he was cute.
No, he was not.
Okay, then it's not the same angel. Not the same angel.
I'm gonna have to take
I
the
have
book
good
out.
taste.
You're gonna have to look at the book and be like, "Oh, Sam's right. He was not."
All right, I
cute."
got it. I got to find it.
The personality. Trust me, it wasn't the look.
Okay, that's it.
And then Melissa and I knew each other from high school. And Regina as well, but Regina, the only reason why I knew her, I should say more, because we had the same chemistry teacher at different periods. So when I was coming out of chemistry, she was going into chemistry. So and I remember seeing her face, and so it just got to the point where I'd just say hi, and she'd say hi, and then it wasn't until Stony Brook.
We were in Orchestra 7. We were both instrumental majors, and Angel played the trumpet and I played the cello in Orchestra 7. Well, orchestra.
And I knew you from before because we had theory class together, theory 1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We knew each other from high school.
So the classes intermingled, even though you were in different grades.
Yeah, because the thing was that I came into the high school as a sophomore because I did my 9th grade in the junior high school. So it was like junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then I went in there for 10th, and she went in there for 9th. So the classes that she took, like theory 1, 2, and 3, she took theory 1 in freshman year. I took it as a sophomore because I went in sophomore.
Well, I have to get you singing later. A chorus song. Because that's what I remember you doing. I was like, this motherfucker can sing. Damn. Because I wanted to be a freestyle singer, but you had the voice.
Yeah. To this day, I remember because you and John sang, and Eddie's John, and we were somewhere. I don't know if we were visiting Binghamton or we were visiting Cortland, but you two sang, and I don't know where I went to the bathroom or whatever, and I missed it. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, it was so good, the two of them singing their duet." And I'm like, motherfuckers, and you never repeated it. You never repeated it. You never did it again.
Oh my
We
God.
drove 100 miles an hour to get from Stony Brook to Binghamton. I remember that. He was flooring it.
Oh my God.
John was flooring. He was the one driving. I think was it your car? I don't remember whose car was it.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Not
it was
at 100
miles an hour. I was like, how did we not even get pulled over? Like it was nighttime. It was crazy.
Luck.
We did a lot of things we shouldn't have done.
Yes.
Oh, that's so crazy. And I loved my Shelly. You're Shelly, of course, Sam, but loved her. She was when we went to visit her in Cortland. I always have like this. She's such a beautiful spirit. I mean, may she rest in peace, but she's just so beloved. So beloved. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I told Samantha she always gave with me, because I was always negative about myself. She'd always lift me up all the time.
Yeah,
And
she
her
always
nice voice.
She always saw the beauty in a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like she'd be like, "Oh my God, you should meet this girl. She's so pretty." And then me and Miss Liza, what are you talking about?
What are you
And
looking
she was
at?
like, "No, but look at her eyes. She has gorgeous eyes." And we're like she would always just find something beautiful about a person, whether it was a personality, a look, whatever.
I love it.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, me and Miss Liza like, is she looking at the same thing we're looking at? So tell me an empowering moment where you had to kind of own who you are.
Oh man, yes. So this one was a rough one, but like it had to happen. I live with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law lives with us, rather, I should say. And she and I have a very rough relationship. That's just how it is. It's always been that way. And so anytime I would discuss that with my wife, her response was always just ignore it. Ignore her. Don't pay any attention. And I had this mindset back then that she's a therapist. She knows what's she knows it all. So she's right. Like I have to do that. But it would never sat well with me. I was like, I hated that I had to ignore her. And I'm like, and then I'm getting all these like passive aggressive things towards me, and I'm like trying to ignore her, but I'm not really ignoring her. It's affecting me. But I'm like, but she said ignore her. And I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with it. Can't deal with it anymore. So one day, my dogs were barking a lot. In my presence, she tells my wife, she says, I'm going to open that door. Don't be surprised one day I open that door and I'm going to let those two dogs out. That was my breaking point. I could no longer ignore her. I could no longer stay quiet, and I could no longer just let it slide. That was just my breaking point. And I knew that for me, my challenge was let her know who she's fucking with, but don't curse her out. Like that was my challenge. Like immediately, I knew to do that. So I yelled as hard as I can. My wife was there, and I said, Doris, I'm telling you right now, if you let those dogs out, and I wasn't speaking this low, I was yelling. So if those dogs out, you're gonna answer to me, and you're not gonna like the way the conversation goes. I said, I promise you, you are not going to like the way the conversation goes. I said, do you understand me? I was done. I was done. And I threw a very sharp look at my wife because I was like, say something because you're going to get it too. I was like, you're going to hear my wrath too because I had listened to that, ignore her, and that did not work. But she didn't say anything. She stood quiet. And I think because she saw that, I got my point across. I didn't disrespect. Well, that's questionable as to how you're going to receive that because you're an elder, but... Mm-hmm. She needed to know, and I had it. I was done. So after that, she didn't mess with me. She stopped messing with me. She knew that I have that in me, and we're gonna have a very, very difficult conversation, but I'm going to have it, and you're not going to win in that because at the end of the day, I already told my wife. I said, if this gets to where I don't like living in my own home, she's gonna have to go and live with your sister. That's it. That's my bottom line. That's what it's going to be. If that's something that doesn't sit well with you, I said, you can join her. Because I am not dealing with this anymore. I was like, I tried to go by the whole ignore her thing. That did not work. I don't know who that works for. It may work for you. It doesn't work for me. I can't. All it did was just build and build and build, and now we have this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That also speaks to like the respect that us Latinos have towards parents and elders. So you'd never catch me like yelling at my mother-in-law. So, being a Pisces, we let things build up inside us. Someone can continue to, irk us and we won't show anything. Continue till you explode. And that's where our words come out as knives because I'll fuck you up with my mouth before I fuck you up with my hands. So
it's the water signs in general too.
Yeah, I mean, because it just, I may look like a pendeja, or you think I may be one, but I have like a Rolodex in the back of my mind. I'm remembering every little fucking thing, and the minute I explode, you're gonna feel my wrath.
And ever since then, that's been a thing where now I'm like, okay, I have to change that whole idea that because my wife's a therapist that everything she says is going to be right because that's not
we're human.
Healthy.
No,
yeah,
we're human. We're people.
Right.
So I'm like that doesn't work, and I have to be able to now communicate things that don't sit right with me, and we have to be able to have this conversation, and that was uncomfortable for me. She, let's talk. That's about it. But me, it was hard because I was working on my emotional, like bandwidth, trying to like make things not to like explode, but because there was so much repressed, like anything that would get me upset would be a little bit more than what the situation required. So I had to work with that and conversation. And every time I have to do it, I have to do both. Like, this is not so serious. I shouldn't be this angry. Take a momentary pause before you engage in this conversation. And that's not easy, especially being from the Bronx, where you have to be like on top of it. You have to just come back and come back and come back and come back. And it's like, if you don't, then you're weak and you're soft. You're a punk. You have to work through all that. I'm like, Yeah, you get to take a momentary pause, and if you have to come back later, that's okay too.
I think also
Yeah.
people, and I've experienced this as well. I know there was a family member in my husband's family, and she was like poking, 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 and he would say the same thing: ignore her, ignore her, ignore her. And I'm like, all right, for the sake of the family, because I'm marrying into this family, and and shit hit the fan. And and that person really tries and tried here and there, but like for the most part, the boundary has to be placed. It had to be placed. And he experienced the wrath from this person. And he's like, I'm so sorry I told you to say, I'm so sorry I ever did that. I ever made you feel like you had to ignore her, because I can see how like she just tries to go for the jugular, and ignoring, you take, and I think for a lot of people, including me, I had to do work around where's the medium, because either I would take and take and take and stay quiet and become resentful or angry, and I would shut down, or I could react, right? In a not healthy way.
Mhm.
And so I think the work is really, and this is for a lot of people in general, kind of really, how do you stand up for yourself in a calm way before it gets to the point where you're so hurt and angry that you're lashing, that you react, right? And I think that's hard for us water signs. We just stay quiet. We're just like, take it and take it, take it. And then you're like, no, that's not acceptable. And I think saying it in a calm way is growth, but it's hard. At least it was hard for me.
Yeah. Yep.
And plus, too, I think, at least for me, like Mark, my husband, he grew up because, my mom lived with us and my mom was difficult, and her and I didn't have a loving relationship. It was very tumultuous and challenging. And then having your childhood trauma move into your home. And Mark would always be like, that's your mom, and I'm going to be respectful, because I was always taught to be respectful to my elders. But my thing was, an elder is somebody I go to for advice. An elder is somebody that I go to for their wisdom. An elder is somebody that, I'm going to respect because they've lived life and they still have to give, even if it's just of themselves, their wisdom, their knowledge. My mother wasn't that. My mother didn't even know me. I wouldn't go to my mother for advice. So for me, I'm like, you're respecting an elder because she's old. Like, but she's not an elder. She's just old.
Mm-hmm.
And she's disrespectful. And I have to put her in her place, And so there was always that kind of challenge there. And Mark really had to find his voice with her, as far as, because, her and I would fight. Eventually, in that healing process, and as you're healing and stuff like that, I eventually had to change. Like, I had to change. I knew she wasn't going to have to change, but I had to change. And then the roles kind of changed, where I used to always protect Mark from her. And if she did say something, it wasn't that, I would tell Mark, don't say anything. I'm like, no, I'm going to check her. I always used to check her. And eventually he started to check her to protect me, because he saw me doing the work. He saw me meditating. He saw me switching gears and being patient with her and being kind to her and being calm with her, because she had dementia. And so if I was calm, she was calm, and building trust and stuff like that, and treating her where she was at, rather than all the history and all the pain and all, like, I had to process that because she couldn't, and then keeping her on medication and stuff like that to keep her even keeled. So for me, like, respecting your elders, I will respect my elders, but say something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna check you. Like, I'm not gonna ignore you, because yes, you get a certain privilege where you don't have to filter yourself, but you don't have to be disrespectful either.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be poking. Like, my mom would just be contrary to be contrary. She would start fights on purpose. I'm like, yo. And I would be like, why do you have to fight about everything? And she was like, fighting is life. And I'm like, for who? I don't want to fight for nonsense. Yeah, so it's a difference there of, like, defining to me what an elder is, what deserves respect. And then somebody that's just old and miserable and wants to make everybody else miserable. So there's a difference.
And I think like that's what Susanna touched on, like also the cultural value in our culture of respecting elders, and also the family is everything. Family is everything. And those things are true, but sometimes people do fucked up shit. And sometimes not everybody will get resolution. And sometimes cutting the relationship is really the best thing for some people and for certain situations. And I think, I mean, I worked in sexual violence for 7 years. I've known victims and survivors who would have to go to family functions and their uncle who abused them was there. And then no one wanted to kick the uncle out, even though he did what he did. Like that's a family value, but then that's when it goes the extreme, in my opinion. So sometimes it's okay to cut people off. Listen, when Jose passed, and there was a lot of ugly stuff going on, and I will not say on air what, but between my family, my brother's family, I cut a lot of people off. I don't give a fuck. And it was decades of taking and taking and taking. And I'm talking in-laws, not Jose's in-laws, but like even my in-laws. And I just feel, on my brother's side, and I'm like, I owe you nothing. Life is short. And I don't need to eat your shit. And I'm going to work on myself to not forgive, but give up the resentment and maybe forgive. I don't know. But like just let it go. And I've let a lot go. But you are of no value in my life.
Word.
Sometimes that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times when you do that, it leads to a deeper healing. Because
Yeah.
even, I got to a point with my mom where I packed her stuff up and I said, you can go live with your son. Like, we're done. Because I had put a boundary there and she wouldn't. And she was like banging on it. Because that's the other part of growth. And when you're having a spiritual awakening, like for me, I changed so much in a matter of a few years where a lot of things that I would enable in my family and my marriage and all that, it all shifted. And the people that had the biggest kind of problem with me changing was my mother, was my husband, because now I wasn't doing those things anymore. And it shook them because now it's like you're not enabling certain things. And I packed her stuff up and I was like, you go live with your son. And when you respect my boundaries, you can come back. And that was kind of the turning point there because she saw that I wasn't playing. But, God loves to give me assignments. So, he decided to trip and make my mother fall and break her shoulder. That lasted 2 weeks. She was back in my house because, she wound up getting hurt and I'm, the one that's going to, but even then it was like, if she comes back in my house, there's new rules, I'm not putting up with it. And that's what was the turning point where it was like, sometimes, like you have a tragedy or you have something happen, you're like, oh my God, and everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, no, this is God. God said, funny, you think you're going to kick your mother out?
Yeah.
It's not happening. Your assignment is not done, miss. You need to get back to the drawing board. And I'm like, so I always say that men find purpose, women get assignments.
My God. Did she ever go out again, or that was?
No, after that, everything shifted between me and my brother because that like brought a lot of the stuff, me and my brother had over the years because I was the one that always took care of everybody in the family. So it made my brother step up and we had an agreement. And honestly, like I had a boundary, not only with my mother, but with my brother, everybody. And it was really our spouses, like my brother's wife and Mark, because we had a meeting, all four of us, like here, my mom's in the hospital and it's during COVID. And they were like, well, if she goes into a rehab center, she's not going to make it. She's got to come home because it's COVID, right? And my brother's like, we're going to pick up dinner and the four of us are going to make this decision together. And I was like blank slate, like, this is my boundary. If that bitch got to come back in here, something's got to change. And my brother and my sister-in-law were shocked like that I was like so cold, right? Because everybody thinks of a mother as loving and unconditional and affectionate. That wasn't my mother for me. And it was my husband and my brother's wife. My husband turned to my sister-in-law and he's like, I know you're shocked of how Samantha's responding. He's like, but he goes, you don't see how she treats her. You don't see how she makes her punching bag. And he was just, he goes, you and I had a loving mother. So we can't even comprehend what it's like not to have, like what we think a mother is, like that's not this. And she's done. He was just like, so give Sam some grace here, and then we made a pact, the four of us, and we took care of her, for 4 years. So as she slowly declined, we took care of her. we handled it together. And I always say, like, it wasn't a burden, it was a blessing, because there was a lot of healing, there was a lot of undoing, there's a lot of unraveling. Like, I wouldn't have gotten through all that if I wasn't doing the work already, like with the message. And I always shared it. I always shared it online. Like, this is what I'm doing. As I was going, I was bringing people along. And some people were in the shadows, like Angel, and some people showed up in person. And I still have those same people 5 years later.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so
everything happens for a reason. People show up. People are put in each other's lives for a reason. You know, as I was saying, I had said before, it's amazing to me and incredible how each and every one of us in our own time have embarked on a journey to heal and grow and have not grown apart from each other. You know, physically, it's, you know, space-wise, yes, absolutely. You know, we live in different states, but as far as like the bond and as far as like, you know, the connection that we have, I think it's beautiful. It's amazing, and I appreciate it. And, you know, I'm grateful for it.
I look at that too. Like, I look at, you know, every time we see, you know, we don't see each other for years and years and years, but like when we do see each other, it's like no time has passed. And I love like connections like that. And even the Stony Brook girls, like, we've been friends for so long. And it's like when we're all together, the vibe is just like, we just all flow. Like, we all compliment each other. We always have a good time.
We act like those 18-year-old girls that met. But with
Yeah.
we went last year for Sharon's 50th birthday to Florida, and we're all like getting ready to like R&B and hip hop, 90s R&B and hip hop, like we used to when we would go clubbing. And we're all getting ready for Sharon's events because she had this whole weekend planned. And we're like borrowing each other's clothes and borrowing this. It was very sweet. It was very nostalgic, which we will be doing again in Italy. Just saying.
I'll be there this time.
Yeah, since Susanna will be there.
Join us next Friday for part 2 of episode 3, Empowerment and Spirituality, with our guest Angel.